Good morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. I'm your moderator. John Becker is away. We appreciate you joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning. We are deep in the middle of the legislative session, and I think they've made headlines just about every day. They've been very busy, and we've got two of the folks that have been making those headlines, or at least participating in them. We've got State Senators Becky and Massey, welcome, and Senator Richard Briggs, welcome. Both
glad to be here.
Knoxville, we appreciate you taking the time.
I always like being here.
Well, we're glad to have you. We know that's a long haul going back and forth to Nashville and what have you. We also have two panelists who are our friends and our regulars here who will be grilling them or asking them some questions anyway. Don Bosch is an attorney and a Democrat in Knoxville, and Susan Richardson Williams is a Republican and runs her own PR company. Welcome to both of you.
Oh, you heard her bad there, John. Thank you.
I pulled it back in time. Everybody knows Susan is a Republican. We don't need to worry about that. All right, I'll ask the easy question first. So y'all have been at it roughly 2 months. But this is really sort of we're getting down to it, the meat and potatoes time. A lot is happening. Just give me, if you would, both of you, a take on highlights and if there's anything that's been a disappointment for you so far. And let me start with you, Senator Massey.
Well, and I think we'll talk about it a little more in the future, but I'm down in the interview, but I'm carrying the Governor's Transportation Modernization Act of 2023.
No pressure there.
No pressure, his number one bill, but you know, that's been real interesting, and as chair of the Transportation and Safety Committee, that's why I'm helping get it across the finish line. But it's, you know, we just need to invest more in our roads, and this is a mechanism to do.
It is a huge thing. We are going to get to that. Any disappointment for you so far?
No, not really. It's just trying to catch my breath and keep up with everything.
I hear you. Senator Briggs, what about you? Any highlights or any disappointments so far?
Well, I think really one of the bills that I've been working on the entire session is what to do about the trigger bill, the modifications on that. It's been both encouraging and disappointing because we've had to delay it twice now. But that's been really the focus of what I've mostly been doing.
I think we want to talk about that more. Shall we start?
Yeah, I'd like to ask you about that particular bill you're carrying. It's the Life of the Mother bill, and in Tennessee, or I guess in the country, most ectopic pregnancies are what caused issues, and like 1 in 50 pregnancies are ectopic, which surprised me when I read that. I guess is that bill going to pass? I mean, I've heard so much about it, you know, pro, con, and everything, and then there's a bill about the rape and incest, and so talk about that. Tell me where we are right now, and you've gotten a lot of grief about carrying that particular bill from some of the Right to Life people. So where are you, and is it going to pass?
Well, you know what this really does, this does a clarification of the trigger bill that we had. I went back just recently and looked at the trigger bill that passed in 2019, and it was really 2 pages long. There wasn't much to it. By the time they did the definitions, it was only about 3/4 of a page long, and really was confusing. I believe that the bill that I have, with the clarifications that we make, and they're just clarifications of the trigger bill, will be the strongest pro-life, anti-abortion bill ever presented to the Tennessee legislature. We define, it's the only place in the Tennessee Code where we actually define criminal abortion. And right after we define criminal abortion, we say the below is not a criminal abortion. And it includes ectopic or tubal pregnancies. It talks about molar pregnancies. It talks about fetal pregnancies, where you have a situation where the infant is not going to be carried to term. And then it talks about fatal fetal anomalies, where the child cannot live outside the womb. And then we talk about what emergencies that could come up. And I will say this is not just about saving the woman's life or preserving her health. What's not talked about, if you don't act on some of these conditions when you discover them, you could leave a woman infertile. If you wait until she gets infected, she can scar her tubes and never be able to have babies. And in some cases with severe bleeding, you may have to do an emergency hysterectomy.
So, and to be clear, just one more follow-up on that, to be clear, elective abortions are still Class C felonies?
They are. That is a criminal abortion, and we defined criminal abortion in the bill.
And who is the criminal under your modification in the bill?
It is the doctor that's performing the criminal abortion, and the bill also makes it clear that it is not the woman who's
What about the nurse that's in the room assisting because of her job?
The way the bill reads, it's the doctor, and we describe very clearly it's the licensed physician who's licensed by the state of Tennessee. Now, if it's someone out in an alley somewhere, that's a whole different issue. But it is
Well,
the
that would be
licensed
the practice
doctor
of medicine
that's
without a license. And
That's
I think
correct.
we could all agree on that. But there's no sense, and everybody's going to know where my position is. I mean, I think this is horrific legislation that I don't think government should be part of. But one of the things that was clearly absent from your modifications were exceptions for rape and incest. So it is your position, and you believe the position of your Republican colleagues, that a woman who is raped or a woman who is impregnated through incest, irrespective of age, outside of your arguments about medical conditions and scarring, that woman should be forced to carry that child to term.
That's incorrect. And first of all,
That's what I want to ask.
First of all, I don't consider this a bad bill. I consider this a good bill because it saves the life of women and it preserves the fertility of women. I think that's good, not bad. Secondly, you're talking about rape and incest, and there is a completely separate bill. It's being carried by our Speaker Pro Tem, Farrell Hale, and it deals with both incest and rape, but that is a separate bill. We felt if you try to put too much into a bill, even the uncontroversial one will fail. And so we separated those out. This is a medical bill. There would not be one child aborted that could live with my bill. It does not, the trigger law does not preserve one life.
Let me ask, would you support those exceptions, rape and incest?
I do, and particularly I support, I can understand the ethical dilemma with rape, but in incest, and you may be familiar with the 10-year-old girl, a little 5th grader in Indiana, that became pregnant by rape.
And the doctor got in trouble for that.
And the doctor went to Ohio to perform.
And the governor sought a criminal investigation.
I just think that's terrible.
It was.
And I can tell you right here in this community, during my 30 years of practice in this community, sitting on the ethics committee of the St. Mary's Hospital, we had several cases that we reviewed of little girls that were under the age of 12.
We'll all be watching, but now is a good time when we need to take a break. You're watching Inside Tennessee. We're going to be back with plenty more